Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for having us. Thanks for allowing us the opportunity to do this webinar. I'm joined by my colleague Andrew, who's going to be manning the deck here. I think as it goes through like Q&A, if you do have any questions, my colleague Andrew's going to take a look at them. If they're directly related to what we're talking about, we'll get to them right as they come in. If it's a little unrelated or maybe applies to a different part of the presentation, we'll save it maybe to the end. But we'll definitely ensure we get to all those questions. So this presentation is going to be, it's from Fuji Spray here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's going to be about the brief history of our company, a mention of our education program, which was tailored around the CREF program, an education program that we're very proud of, and then also our paint spraying innovation, most specifically the compressed air systems, and then our HVLP turbine, which a little bit more mobile and portable. So yeah, like I said, my name's Jim Larin. I'm from Fuji Spray. I've worked at Fuji for nearly 10 years now, in various parts of the business and various roles and across the different divisions that we have. My background is on the woodworking side. And then as Fuji expanded into the automotive collision repair industry, that's where I sort of began to learn more and more about the industry. So got probably about 6 to 8 years experience. So there's many of you in the call here that probably have much more experience than myself. So hopefully I'll also learn something today. Let's go to the next slide, Andrew. If I talk too fast or if you can't hear me, feel free to also mention that in the chat, and I'll slow down and speak up. Okay, so Fuji Spray. It's probably a name that many of you haven't quite heard about other than through our involvement in CREF. But believe it or not, we've been around since 1986. We're headquartered in Toronto. We're a proud North American manufacturer. So yeah, our headquarters is in Toronto. That's where our assembly is, our distribution for Canada, and then we also have a distribution center in Buffalo, New York. So we're able to quickly and efficiently service both north and south of the border. As I'd mentioned, I'd worked in the various divisions at Fuji Spray. So we have 3 main divisions. We have our systems division, which is the HVLP turbine units. We have the sunless division, which is like spray tanning, very different from what we'll be talking about today. And then one that I'm most excited and proud about, which is the automotive industry, collision repair, touch-up and dent repair, that sort of thing. So as I had said too, our HVLP turbine spray systems, we've been a market leader in that for nearly 40 years since the beginning. It's an industry that we've dominated because we've been our sole focus has been based on this technology, and all of our R&D, all of the constant improvement went towards HVLP turbines. And so it's exciting to be able to transition that into the automotive line and be competing against really some of the best in the industry. As the slide says here, automotive compressor spray guns, we've gained quite a bit of market share with the performance, the reliability, and I would say the agility of our systems and our compressor spray guns. So and I would say the biggest thing too is that they are at quite an attractive price point, whether it's for the wholesaler or for the end user, like many of you are. So Fuji Spray's versatility, it really comes from, I think, being a medium-sized business with a large business optics, but with a small business mentality, where as much as we focus on R&D, we do focus on the end user experience, not just when you're happy and you have the gun and everything's working, but inevitably when things do go wrong. That's where I think that's, from my experience in the spray industry for 10 years, that's really what sets Fuji apart. Further to the versatility there, we do offer systems that work in a wide range of industries. So like I said, woodworking, automotive collision repair. We also do marine work. We've recently signed on some aviation partnerships for bathtub and kitchen countertop resurfacing, spray tanning. We even go into the confectionery market, so spraying chocolate and different food items. Our bread and butter has always been HVLP, so minimum of 65% transfer efficiency. And then we also have mid-pressure, or what's also known as reduced pressure, or HTE, which is the higher pressure output, but still maintaining that HVLP compliance. And I should mention too that some of the models that we'll talk about and the ones that we've supported CREF with are compliant across the United States. So you can trust that we do have an option for you. Next slide, if you don't mind, Andrew. Cool. So main focus about what we're going to talk today is obviously what we're here for is the automotive compressor guns. And the real focus that I would say that sets us apart is the ability to get the quality, the spray performance, minimize downtime, but it's also at an initial price point that's very attractive without sacrificing things that most inexpensive things inevitably come with. So why don't we get into the product line? Just gonna take a quick sip of coffee. Okay, so hopefully the first thing that stands out is the retail cost. So this is what someone would get if they just went off the street and got a spray gun, whether it was through our distributors, through Amazon. I'm going to start with I'm going to go out of order here and just sort of talk about the evolution. So a gun that's not featured on here was actually our first gun that came out about 6 to 8 years ago, and it was called the X series, modeled off of our HVLP turbine units, but with a compressor adapter. It was a great gun, but we realized very quickly that the automotive industry wasn't looking for multi-purpose. They were looking for very specified and very application heavy compressor guns. So you'll see here the V8 series. This was technically our second iteration of compressor spray guns, but in my opinion, our first real entrance into having something that the collision repair industry could be proud of and that they could rely on. So it does come at a very attractive price point of $479. That would be the cup or the gun without a cup. And then we also have guns with the aluminum cup, with the nylon cup, and then we are fully adaptable to most of the major cup systems, whether it's 3M PPS is the big one, the RPS system from SATA, Colab cups, Indasa cups, pretty much any cup that's on the market right now, we can adapt to that. Sorry, I'm just getting some side messages here. Okay, sorry about that. So the spray gun, the V8 series, it weighs in at about 521 grams or 1.15 pounds. It is lightweight, but unlike our first generation gun, the X series, it really does have a great balance. So the V8 series is offered in, I don't have the HVLP one here, but it looks exactly like this. So it's we have an HVLP version, we have a mid-pressure version, which is the MPV8, and then we also have the special edition MPV8 Stealth, which same power and performance as the MPV8, but is, I believe, far outsold it. I think that's just because of the sleek black finish on there. So they are, it's a forged aluminum gun body with anodized internals, waterborne and solvent-bait safe. And then the features that we really have on this gun is we do have the digital adapters, but on the gun itself, the side-mounted pattern control that you've probably seen in some other manufacturers. This one is located on the front of the spray gun. It's less of a deflector system and more of a plunger system, which allows for more control when you're adjusting the fan. So it's less finicky. Whereas some, you adjust it a little bit and it completely changes your pattern. It's the max fan width on this is about 325 millimeters. I don't have the inch conversion of that, but you can throw it into Google and check. And then, as I said, it is suitable for waterborne or solvent-based finishes. And if you're spraying even ceramic-based finishes, anything like that, it goes through any sort of gun washer you may have in your shops or you may encounter in future shops. So really, really durable gun. We have tips ranging from 1.2 all the way up to 2.2. So while we do have dedicated base and clear guns, we call the HVLP or the HV8 is our base gun, and the MP or mid-pressure V8 is our clear gun. And what we've really seen is that, obviously the higher pressures to break up some of those clears is more favorable. So with that said, the MP, so mid-pressure, comes with a 1.3 millimeter air cap set. That's the cap, the needle, and the nozzle, all stainless. And then the 1.4 is what's installed on the HV8 or our base gun. But you do have the option of 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, a 1.7, a 2.0, and a 2.2. So whether you're spraying clear, base, primers, metallics, sealers, we do have an air cap set for you. And I know across, the different finishing systems, regardless of what brand, will have an air cap that'll allow you to deliver that great finish. And then in the beginning of this presentation, I did mention that the V8s are the compliant gun. So I will be talking about our Valor series. That one is a new entrance to the market, so we're still working through the compliance of it right now, and all the testing that goes through that. But if you do need a compliant gun after this call and you're interested in a Fuji gun, the MPV8 or the HV8 will be a perfect option for you. Okay, now once again, I'm going to go a little bit out of order, and I'm going to talk about our P30, the Primus gun. So that is our dedicated primer gun. And now we know, like, primer guns, typically they get beaten up a lot. A lot of people, when they're in the market for a new clear base gun, they'll just downgrade the previous model to a primer, maybe switch out the tip. Oh, perfect. I didn't know we had these slides. So the dedicated primer gun is the Primus right up here. Also nice sleek black finish. Unlike the V8s and the Valors, the pattern control is on the top right here. So pretty standard amongst other manufacturers. We have the fluid control there. It's super ergonomic. This is only available in HVLP. We don't have a mid-pressure version of this. But once again, this is also compliant. It is about 448 grams, so it's nice and light. Minimizes user fatigue. This particular gun comes with either a 1.6. It's installed with a 1.8. There's also a 2.0 and a 2.2 available. So obviously the higher tip sizes for the higher viscosity primers and sealers as well. Yeah, so this one is 448. I did miss a bit actually. If I go back to the V8s, the CFM consumption on the V8 is between 12.2 and 14.7, depending on the option you go with. So reasonably low CFM consumption. Then when we get to the Valors, you'll really see a decrease in some of the options there. The P30 is about 10.9, so any shop system is going to be no issues in having adequate amounts of air to get this thing going. It's an aluminum body with copper fluid passages, unlike the anodized internals of the V8. It's got the rear-mounted pattern control, like I had mentioned. This one has about a max fan width of 310 millimeters. Once again, I apologize for not having the conversion to inches, but quite a big fan. And this one we released earlier this year, and it's had nothing but great feedback from the major manufacturers down to the mom and pop job site. So very proud of this gun. Operates, I believe it's between 9 and 29 psi. Oh, 9 and 28 psi. My apologies. And just overall, it's a real workhorse. I think along with the retail price of $199, what's also fantastic too is the fact that all the internals, all the rebuild kits, all sub 100 stuff. So it never comes to a point where you're thinking, do I rebuild or do I buy a new one? There is always that ability to bring this guy back to life. Waterborne and solvent based, it doesn't matter. All suitable for that particular gun. And now on to the flagship gun, which is the Valor series. This is a gun that I don't want to knock any of the other guns on our line, but it's the one that I'm by far the most proud of. Not only does it look fantastic, it was the first one that we went with a full sleek black finish there, which I think looks great. But this is actually 20% lighter than our V8 series. So the V8 521 grams. The Valor is coming in at 435. And if you look at the numbers, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you do factor in a full 20% lighter, it is a night and day difference. Also well balanced. Our R&D team who designed this in Canada here, they really did, I'd have to say, a bang up job in developing a proper balance where it doesn't feel like it's pulling you in any which direction. Whether you're doing, over top of a hood, any of your panels that you're spraying, this one is definitely will definitely give the superior finish. Then once again, that price point, we're in at about $529. Compare that with some of the competitors who also put out a fantastic product. But you're looking at $1,600, upwards of $2,200 for a full finish system. I know when I was first starting off painting, I didn't have that type of money. I didn't have it for textbooks, let alone for spray guns. I bought neither. But when you do leave the work, or when you enter the workforce and leave school, or if you're looking for a gun during your studies, it's still, it's a top quality product, but does have that great value. So it's nickel plated brass air cap. It's got that nice two-tone finish there. It's nice black and gold. And it is also anodized aluminum gun body with anodized internal. So whether it's solvent-based or water-based finishes, no issues there. Like I said, lightweight design, 435 grams, or 0.96 pounds. The air consumption on this one is lower. So you're looking at about 10.8 CFM for the mid pressure and about, 11.5 for the HVLP. So similar to our Valor spray guns, the M100 does come in mid pressure, and the H100 comes in HVLP. This is the one that we're still, going through the compliance process, which maybe would be something interesting to speak of if you ever want to nerd out in a later webinar. But yeah, so that's going to be going through testing, hopefully very shortly. Another great thing about this gun is the hand feel. I don't know the science behind the grip of someone's hand, but just the way it fits into the palm, it really feels like an extension of the arm and less of the tool. It does have a more sensitive trigger pull, which I found out recently the benefits of that. If you're doing curved panels, I find it's not too bad. You're not doing as many trigger pulls as, let's say, what I was spraying, which was a 1947 Jeep Willie. A lot of bends, a lot of stuff where you're triggering on and off. And I know from using other guns, even our own, that it can get pretty tiring. But the easy trigger pull on this made for a fantastic finish. No runs, no sags, but also my hand wasn't devoured at the end of the day. So that allows you to have great control. It also comes with our Fuji's regularly known side-mounted fan pattern control. This one I find is even less sensitive than the V8. Still works off that plunger system, but it does have a lot of rotation to it. So although you have a 320 millimeter fan pattern, you really can hit all those increments down to about a 1-inch fan pattern, even smaller if you get a little bit closer. The tip sizes for this gun, it's offered in 1.0, so 1.0, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.7, and 2.1. The mid-pressure spray gun, mid-pressure spray gun comes in a 1.3 millimeter, similar to the V8s. The 1.4 millimeter comes with our Valor H100, which is that HVLP spray gun. And then something that I'm very excited to share with you guys that isn't on the market yet, that will be released at SEMA actually this year. Let me just thank you, Andrew, for tackling that, because that's perfect timing. Will Fuji have a booth at SEMA this year? We will. It's booth number 34087. Myself, Andrew, the full Fuji team will be there. And I'll share some exciting stuff about the booth. But if you want to put your hands on any of these spray guns, see how they feel, come on by. We'll take them out from under the glass, or we have some on display, and you can also play around with them. But like I said, we are releasing at Fuji, or at SEMA this year, is the Mini Valor. So it's a spot repair gun, similar like the LPH 80 or the 4400B. It's a smaller gun, allows you to achieve a very, very small fan pattern at the narrowest, but this gun actually goes up to about a 320 millimeter fan size. So it still gives you that full fan size capabilities just because of the design of the air cap, but still allows you to get into those small spaces with a small fan. This is another one, it carries on the legacy of the Valor series. It's a box checker. This one operates at 4.9 CFM, between 9 and 29 PSI, and is 337 grams or 0.74 pounds. So it's still super lightweight, still super balanced. And much like the Valor spray gun of before, the full-size Valor, another thing that's great about the Valor is that it has very few internal components. Very few Teflon components, very few plastic components that only have so much longevity when going through a spray gun washer. So, it's really just, it's an air cap, it's a diffuser. Sorry, it's an air cap, it's a fluid nozzle, it's a diffuser or distributor, which evenly distributes the air through the air cap. that's about it. Then you have your needle packing, which is an enclosed needle packing, so it's a little bit more protected. And then the needle. But apart from that, like the internal guts of it, you're not dealing with various Teflon seals, which, you know, at the end of the day, they do have a lifespan as opposed to metal, which it can go through the washes quite a lot. So the Valor spray gun, it offers a 1.6. Sorry, my apologies. It comes in a 0.8, a 1.0, which is the stock tip, or 1.2, which is typically the size that you're going to be using for spot repair. And it's currently only available in HVLP, but just from my initial testing of it, you know, if it performs very similar to the Valor in fit and feel, and the actual finish of it, the finish grade that you're getting it's remarkable. So I'm very proud of this one. I think a lot of people are going to be excited when this hits the market. It's been something that a lot of folks have been asking about, and we're really happy to finally let that out. So, sorry, Andrew, do you have the retail on this one? I know it's so new that we might not have that yet, but let me just check the chat here.
Yep, it's $399.
$399. So compare that to other guns in the market. Once again, it still gives you that value, still gives you that performance and the durability that you've come to know and love, all with that customer service. Just really quickly before we leave the Valor system, I see Brian Foster says we have the M100. Thank you. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Great that the students love and how easy it is to spray with. I also like, you know, I don't get enough time in the booth as I would like, so there's a lot of learning that I need to do, but I also find that, you know, a good paint system mixed with a great gun, and it just lays down effortlessly. So I really appreciate that. I think we can now move on to, unless there's any questions on that product line, whether it's the Primus, the V8s, the various options, or the Valor various options. Awesome. Yeah, I think we tackled that. Yeah, done that. P30. Sweet. Cool. So like I said, if you do have the benefits of coming to SEMA this year, please stop by the booth. You'll get to see the full lineup. And even if you don't, you know, one thing that we can offer the CREF folks is a lot of additional support outside of webinars like this, which I think are great. So even if you just want to give me a call and talk shop, if there's ever some industry events that you think would be great for Fuji to join, you know, local things like that, please let us know. If there's anything that your district's doing or your school specifically is doing, you know, a lot of folks have asked us if we could do sort of industry nights, which I think would be great. It's not all about finishing, but it's also talking about the different opportunities outside of the paint booth that folks in the CREF system can have. So, you know, when I was starting my finishing career, it never really was going to, I never thought that spray gun sales or developing spray guns was going to be what I'd be doing. And it's awesome. So if you'd ever want to do anything like that, please let me know. Hopefully my contact info is at the back of the deck, but if not, I'll be sure to put that in the chat. Compressor spray guns versus HVLP turbine technology. So this one, I won't spend too long on the turbine. I just want to show you the versatility of it, because we have seen that as we develop more and more powerful turbine systems, they have a growing application in automotive. So we all know what compressor air systems are. It's a compressor, the airline, the various moisture and oil traps, and then hooks up to the regulator, hooks up to the gun, or you may have a regulator on the wall, and you're spraying. The benefits of compressor systems obviously are your atomization, your speed of finish, because you do have better control over the PSI output, and you're working with more PSI, working with more pressure. With turbines, which is that boombox looking guy right in the middle there, that's Fuji's newest, it's the D6. We operate at a ceiling at the tip of 10 PSI to really maintain your HVLP compliance in the turbine world. Some of you may know what a turbine is. They're probably, you know, they had their real spike in the woodworking industry back in, the 80s. And they've just kept growing. And now that we've been able to develop more powerful systems, you're starting to see that resurgence and spike in the automotive world. Pardon me. So turbines, what are they? It's essentially a vacuum motor that's installed inside of this box. And what it does is instead of sucking air in, it's just blowing it out. And when I say we've been able to create more powerful and powerful motors, that comes down to the motor stages. So I think I have, there we go. So this is essentially what's in that system there. Air goes in here, air comes out here. The stages refers to the amount of fan blades on the motor. So a two-stage turbine would have two fan blades, a three-stage three, four-stage four, five. You get the sort of where that goes. So the most popular systems of past were between two and three stage. Four stage was a big advancement, but most recently motor manufacturers specifically in the U.S. where our motors are coming from have advanced their technology and are able to create more powerful motors. The challenge that we have as turbine manufacturers is the fact that turbines generate quite a bit of heat, and so being able to balance sound suppression and portability, heat dissipation, so getting the hot air out of the turbine case, which is typically what kills them fastest, and then balancing it with that final aspect, which is power, it's quite a balancing act compared to our compressed air spray guns, where they're a little bit easier to design because we're only focusing on a couple factors. Mostly is spray performance, as opposed to the turbines. We are dealing with some things that could be detrimental to the unit. And Fuji really does hit that mark right in the middle of balancing all those. So the six stage here, like I said, it's Fuji's newest unit, came out last year. And we're starting to see that folks that do on-site touch-up repairs, whether someone opens the car door into your car and someone's coming out to do the work in your driveway. There's a lot of fleet people that use them. People that are doing rims, it's also another popular option. The nice thing about turbine equipment is that it's super portable. It is very lightweight, which enhances the portability. And the durability of the actual machine and the power we're putting out means you're not sacrificing the actual finish. So if anyone were to be doing this for a hobby, or they are doing this as like a mobile thing, what I would recommend is probably a four stage and higher. And what you're going to notice is, with the two stage and the three stage, you'll still be able to atomize the coating, but you might sacrifice things like gloss. And I find with the six stage, you're really able to put out a fine finish while maintaining that gloss level. And you say we got guns here that are operating at 29 PSI. How does something with 10 PSI at the tip actually atomize? And that's because turbines, I think, is really the extreme of HVLP, where, for comparing the air passages there, these use like a standard garden hose, so about 3/4 inch, whereas these, obviously, you're using the smaller diameter hose. And it's that high volume of air at lower pressures mixed with the larger internals. You see the guns are larger, and the air passages are massive. So being able to develop the volumes of air at that lower pressure is what allows you to atomize effectively. I've sprayed. I would challenge you. I know a lot of finishing does come with the finesse of the user, but I think that if I were to lay down, and if many of you were to try a turbine, dial it in, understand the differences between compressed air systems, if you were to put panels side by side, you really wouldn't be able to spot one over the other. And then the final thing I'll say about turbine units, because in my personal opinion and professional opinion, it'll never replace a compressor in a shop setting. But there are benefits to it where, like I said, the portable guys that are using it in their fleets, if your compressor ever goes down or is being serviced and you still want to work through some stuff, if you're doing small spray outs, there is a benefit there. And across all of our divisions, what really is great about the turbine units is the fact that it's a intuitive sort of turnkey operation. You have your turbine, which is your compressor or your air source. You have your 25 to 30-foot air hose. There's a 6-foot whip that can go on, which makes it more lightweight, more versatile, and the way you're able to get at different angles. And then your spray gun. And then it goes into a 120-volt outlet. You have your power switch, and then a simple breaker at the back. There's no moisture traps, there's no oil traps, and that's because unlike compressed air systems where we're taking your ambient air and compressing it into the tank, ambient air has dirt, oil, moisture. Turbines, we're just recirculating the air, and it's already come and been filtered into the system. So what we deliver with turbine systems is warm, dry air, which in most cases is most favorable for finishes, whether it's automotive or woodworking. When I say warm, I don't mean hot, room temperature kind of air. So that would be the major difference, I would say, between our compressed air systems and our turbine systems. And I'm thankful that I work at a company that offers both and puts the equal amount of resources, design, quality, and effort into both systems. So that's if anyone has any HVLP turbine questions, like I said, I'll leave my contact information in the chat. Be more than happy to answer any questions you have. But the way I sell it to people, or I explain it to people, is that it's not that one's necessarily better than the other because it is application dependent, but it's sort of just rounding out the arsenal. Yeah, I think we can go on to the next slide. I know I'm probably getting close to my time limit here. Okay. So the goals with Fuji's goals within collision and repair. I'm just going to wet my whistle. The main goal, I would say, is that we wanted to shift all of the things that we've been so great at with woodworking and with our turbine units, and continue to allow our customers to have different options. Folks that have a compressor already in their system and maybe unhappy with a particular provider. We wanted to take not only the quality of the product, but also the company ethos, the philosophy that we have, and bring that to the collision repair industry. Like I said, we have like big organization optics, medium-sized business, small business mentality. So it's less about finger pointing and complex warranties, and more about getting the end user who's already spent a lot of money to get them back up and running. So another thing about our business here is that we have a 24-hour or 1 business day response time. In most cases, it's response and resolution. So if you have something like, a gun goes down for whatever reason, which very rarely, I know you guys already know this, it's very rarely the gun. And I'm not saying this just as a spray gun manufacturer, but typically there's other factors at play. If it's a misplaced part, we have a lot of people that sometimes clean in a slop sink and their fluid nozzle disappears, or they've given it to someone who's cleaned it and now the spray gun doesn't work, which I know the educators in the meeting right now probably understand that the most. But that's when you call Fuji. You're not going through a complex phone system. You're going to call in. You're probably going to get 2 rings. You're going to hear the wonderful Sherry's voice, actually. Then you're going to hear 2 rings, and then one of our customer service folks, technical support people, even myself, are just 2 rings away to get you up and running. And like I said, it's not about pointing the finger. It's about extending a hand. And our warranty process, like I said, is 24 hours to 1 business day resolution. And in the turbine world, it's less about a lot of the issues that come about are typically from a lack of cleaning, even compressor spray guns too. It's some sort of user error. But because we're not here to play the blame game, we are always going to take care of you. So as long as it's within your warranty, you give us a call and we'll get everything right for you. The next focus apart from the customer service or support side, is the price. We looked at the market, we looked at what it takes to build quality spray guns that rival the competition, and really couldn't justify the price points that you may come across. So like I said, any of our guns are between, like the Primus is as low as $199. The other spray guns, they are between $450 to, let's say, $550. But people think that when you spend less, that you're going to get less. But ours, not only do they offer the same quality and performance, but it's also something that you can be proud of holding in your hand. And I hope that if those users that have it also feel that too, because you can find I won't say the name, but we all know the big box store where you can get some pretty cheap guns pretty quickly. And they may work for a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's either going to let you down or you may not feel proud of it in your hand. This thing is it is a nice looking gun. It feels nice. It looks nice. It sprays nice. So that was another really important thing about when we entered automotive, the product that we wanted to deliver. And then one thing that Fuji has always done, even in my own career at Fuji, is supporting the industry, not just in pumping it with equipment, but also making sure that there's the training and education behind it, and then supporting the next generation, which, I saw a lot coming from the woodworking industry, where it's a lot of tribal knowledge where it's passed down from woodworker to woodworker. And it's in some cases why the industry thrives. But now with the advantages of social media, the internet, all of that, it really allows us to ensure that the next generation is set up for success. Organizations like CREF, for instance, are another example of that. So ensuring that we educate the next generation and even the current generation of spray finishers is definitely a big thing for us. So whether it's on-site training, literature, video content, anything like that, it's a big focus at Fuji. One thing we do too, which I think is unlike a lot of other brands, is if you call into tech support and you have a working camera, it's just a click away that we can set up a video call. We can go through the different components. I'm more of a visual guy. I'm sure most of us are. So even if it's a user manual or a guide, I like to just be able to speak with someone where we have the gun in our hands. We understand how it works. We can take it apart, fix it, find the problem, get the solution. So, yeah, I think that would really encompass what our goals are with collision repair, which is continuing on the legacy of good Fuji products, offering education and training and support to, regardless of where you are in your spray finishing journey. And then, very importantly, especially with, when the economy goes down, or, if we're at a point in our life where we can't shell out a lot of money, at least being able to deliver something that is attractively priced, is attractive in your hand, and won't let you down when you need it most. So with that said, I think that'll probably bring us on to our last portion of it, which is something that this is a first for Fuji, and it's another one of those things that makes me proud to work here, which is our student discount program. This is not something we've done before on the wood side, but given the amount of nonprofit and for-profit schools that are in the automotive industry and put so much of their heart and soul into it, and even what other manufacturers are doing in the prep space and booth space and that sort of thing, we knew that it was just a natural next step to go with a education program, which I think we can pop to the next slide, which will have some details about it. So at Fuji Spray, we are extraordinarily proud to partner with folks like CREF. We were given the opportunity about 3 years ago, and I think this year or next year we're going to be approaching about $100,000 in spray gun donations. So it's just been a partnership that we really value. I wasn't at the last SEMA, but everyone at the company that was there mentions that the CREF breakfast was it was a very special moment where you actually get to, we're in the office a lot of times, we're behind a screen, we don't get to necessarily see the users and hear the success stories, but being able to be at that breakfast was quite inspirational, and sort of gives you that passion to keep going. With the student discount program, there's a link to it that my good friend Andrew has put in, and that'll give you the full offerings and the more details about the program. But most importantly is that whether you're an educator or whether you're a student, we do offer a discount off of our retail pricing. So you can get 30% off Fuji Spray auto spray guns. It's free shipping across the US and Canada. So if it's in the US, it'll ship from Buffalo. Don't have to worry about tariffs. Canada, obviously, it'll ship from Canada. And the discount code is valid while you're in school and for 3 months after graduation. It's as simple as, I believe, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong here, whether it's a student card, a graduation certificate, anything like that, you just go online, you'll submit it. It's a very simple validation process, and then we'll get you to complete payment. But this takes 30% off an already attractively priced unit. And And so that's how, we hope we can further to, doing training and having webinars like this. We sort of put our money where our mouth is and ensure that we can support the students and also, very importantly, the educators in getting their hands on some Fuji products so they get to experience it as well. I think we're at pretty good timing if we can open it up to any further questions. If not, some of us may be able to get a nice early lunch. Actually, I can really quickly go into SEMA. I know I mentioned that I wanted to talk about what's at our booth, especially as it relates to like educators and students and stuff. So the Fuji Spray booth, we're gonna have a nice car there. I think it's in Monte Carlo. I don't know exactly what year it is, but it looks sick. That was done by a partner of ours, Adam Stone. He does a lot of really interesting work. We're gonna have our big booth, our full Fuji lineup. So we're gonna have the Primus P30, excuse me, the HV8, the MPV8, the M100, H100, and then releasing the new H50. Along with that, we're gonna have the full team. So myself, my colleague Josh, General Manager Andrew, President of the company David. So regardless of what your needs are at Fuji, you'll have someone there to talk to. We'll also have our marketing department, Natalie, who'll be there. But what I think is the most fun, and that's because I get to run the station most of the time, is our fully immersive VR. So I know there's probably folks here that have used VR in various facets. I know on like the professional or the training side, many of you may have used like the VR welders, which are also very cool. But ours is, I'm never one to say something is the best, but if I look at it, I have to say it is probably the best. It's done in partnership with Virtual Paint Products out of Northern Iowa, Jeremiah, who's an absolute rock star. And like I said, fully immersive system. So you put the goggles on, your gun is going to be a Fuji gun, fully calibrated for VR, and you're actually stepping inside of the booth. You can spray. I think we're probably going to do it for clear coats. It's a little bit tougher. But this sort of system can be fully calibrated to primers, bases, clears. It does have a massive real world training aspect to it. We kind of use it as a bit of like a draw in a video game. But yeah, it's an amazing unit. It's great, if you are doing educating. Paint's expensive, guns are not cheap, and cleaning guns sucks. So being able to hop in the booth, spray out your finishes, and what this does is, when we do the SEMA virtual spray, some of the most seasoned guys don't get the best. And I say this isn't necessarily for them, although they're more than welcome to try it. This is for the person that has zero paint experience and is just trying to understand the basics of, trigger pulls, gun speed, gun pass, overlap, the fine-tuned basics of things, so that you do have, you do get a score, and getting people from 0%, 20%, which I've seen people score, to like the 80s, the 90s. So we're confident enough where you can put paint in the gun. You're not going to make a mess. You're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to hurt others. And you're going to at least be able to have the core values of how to lay down a good clean finish. So the VR system, even if you're not interested in the Fuji line right now, come by and use the VR system because it's a lot of fun. And you can load in any sort of different parts in there, fenders, hoods. You can do helicopter blades. I think there was a tank turret that Jeremiah has, motorcycles, anything. So very, very cool. I'll take any questions that we may have. Is the VR system available for schools? Yeah, so I guess if you guys want, because it's worth everything that it does, but it is quite expensive. So depending on what the school's budget is, we can put you in touch with Jeremiah. I'm sure he would love to explain that to you. And his sales team can also, I believe, come out and do demos. Even if it's something that, because it's ultra portable, it fits in like a Pelican case. So it could be maybe something that maybe one school wouldn't be able to do. But if there's like a network of schools in the area and you sort of go, you divide it, that can at least, come around. But yeah, it's virtual paint products from Iowa. We have the 3D through Jeremiah. Jeremiah is he's an absolute star, very much big in education, and works with companies from small to massive. So that's fantastic that you use it.
Yeah, Jim, this is Melissa. So I
Yeah.
think the virtual Great Point is actually
Mhm.
a very popular thing with our schools. So I'm
Yeah.
sure they'd like to know more about it. A
Cool.
lot of them like to use it for also recruitment events.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
a cool thing to have in a booth or,
Yeah.
bring it to an event. So I know it's a very popular request on our
Cool.
grant application. So if
Fantastic.
you did have some sort of, discount or offer, and we
Mhm.
get it out to the schools. So when they do apply
Yeah.
for the grant, they can maybe have that opportunity to put your system on the grant app.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, we could connect offline and see how we can sort that out, but that's perfect. I appreciate that. Um, Thanks to Fuji Spray for donating the MPV-8 Stealth through CREF last year. So I thought CREF was getting or CREF was getting the blue ones, but when I heard you guys got the nice fancy stealth ones, I was like, that's awesome because these are, I mean, they perform exactly like the other ones, but yeah, man, do they look good. So glad you guys got to take advantage of the special editions there. You're one of few.
So please put your
Yeah,
questions in the chat. And I do also, every time I do a presentation, I like to ask the presenter,
cool.
because we do have instructors and students both on the call,
Yeah,
what one piece of advice would you give students today who are, looking to be successful in the industry?
yeah. I would say like my first few years at Fuji was tough because I wasn't playing enough. I wasn't making enough mistakes. And I was super in like intimidated. I had like a self-confidence issue. I had a like inferiority complex. And I would just say like everyone has that. The people that don't have that are probably the people that fail early. But just get in there, just play. Fail early, fail often. But yeah, that would be the first bit, and then the second bit would be oh, it's just in my head. It was super profound too. Darn it. Um, oh, um, you're you may start off in a booth, you may not end in a booth. So just realize that like a lot of manufacturers like Fuji, like the people that are doing surface preparation, like the coatings manufacturers, what you bring to the table as someone who has spray experience is, I think, maybe a lot more than you may know as a student. Um, Having someone that understands how the coatings work, different things of how they perform. There's a lot of people, and I'm even guilty of it too, where sometimes it's speculation, sometimes it's third party info, but you bring a lot to the industry, not just inside that booth. And if you end up in the booth your whole life or you have a shop, that's awesome too. But I wouldn't want you to think that maybe you get in the booth and 5 years down the road, it's maybe not for you or whatever. Just know that there is a massive industry that values what you guys do a lot. So that would be my 2 bits of information. Make mistakes, fail early, fail often, and just know that there's a lot that you're doing inside the booth, and there's a lot that you can do outside of it.
Okay, and if you, of course, if you come up with a question after the fact, you've got their contact information in here, or please get a hold of CREF, and we're happy to pass along contact information and get your questions answered. But look forward to seeing anyone who is here at SEMA. We do have the CREF breakfast as well. You are welcome to join if you're not signed up. Please let us know. Otherwise, you can go stop at their booth as well. But thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you to Jim and Andrew for taking the time, and everyone have a great rest of the day.